She was lovely, very nice. Well, basically the performance was a parade of all of the characters from all of the videos that are present in the exhibition. And I added one character which she played. A fashion show always has a bride at the end. And I wouldn't exactly call this a fashion show. This is a little bit more of a procession of costume or character. I stopped competing as an athlete as I entered university. Although I had plans to continue, I had to stop and focus on one thing.
But when you say focus on one thing, you still focus a lot on the body.
Well, I certainly didn't abandon my interests. I mean, a lot of the narratives come from a continued interest in athletics and athletic behavior, psychologies of athletics, and how an athlete relates to what's inside of him or herself.
You deal a lot with holes all of the time. Could you tell me about the hole? What does that mean?
Well, those are the passageways through these different layers of layers in the stories, and release valves for energy to pass through and escape if it builds up too much pressure.
But you could also think about it as some kind of gay thing. Is it a gay thing?
No, I think that the organisms are they're alone. In that sense, it's autoerotic. The different character factions inside of itself are in sexual tension with one another, but they're not developed as characters enough for them to be representational at all. I'm not at all interested in them being representational of men or women or anything else. They're just sort of abstract zones of conflict.
Is it on purpose that you use these instrumental thing for operating on people? It almost looks like.
Well, I think that you've got an organism and you've got a situation where a story is being told. So I think that the apparatus of a kind of an internal investigation are handy for opening up the organism to get inside so we can see this story. It is a clinical situation. The organism has to be kept clean. essentially the source of many of these narratives has to do with a kind of biological state of a predetermined or an undifferentiated sexuality, and this is kind of a fetal state or a pregenital state. And for me, all of these stories in the videos and installations take place in that kind of zone before the sex has been identified, and this, of course, is a kind of biological metaphor for the idea that the organism itself, which isn't essentially human or necessarily human, can be undifferentiated and can be in constant change.
Mettiamo gli occhietti, Olivia? Facciamo gli occhietti?
There's such a big difference in what you're doing in your own art and what you're doing here with the kids.
Oh, I don't think it's such a big difference. I think that the way that children put stories together depends on a kind of a logic that's completely internal, and I think my interests are very similar in constructing this form that that in the beginning ignores kind of moral structure, but starts to develop its own moral structure inside, and I think the way children invent stories is very similar. We took a group through yesterday, which was fun, and very good questions were asked. One young boy asked about the kind of leap from a kind of a form which is more a representational form of the weight. It wasn't really a question, it was a comment about how it kind of took an abstract leap into an installation that felt a little bit like muscle tissue in a certain sense, and I thought that was kind of interesting, kind of amazing, really. But on the other hand, it's, like children look at a cloud and come up with the whole story.